Picture this: Nikki Sixx, the flamboyant bassist of Motley Crue, seated in a dimly lit room, finally laying bare his thoughts about one of rock's most controversial figures, Gene Simmons of Kiss. Sixx, never one to shy away from drama, has had his share of ups and downs, but this revelation sends shockwaves through the rock community. Simmons, known for his larger-than-life persona and relentless ambition, is no stranger to criticism. Yet, hearing Sixx describe their personal clashes and his discontent with Simmons adds a new layer of intrigue to the long-standing tension between these two icons. Sixx's criticism of Gene Simmons stems from deep-seated frustrations with Simmons' approach to the industry. To Sixx, Simmons embodies everything he detests about commercialism in rock, a figure who prioritizes branding and business over artistry and camaraderie. Their relationship, cordial at first, soured as Sixx began to see Simmons as someone whose ego and greed eclipsed his respect for the genre they both helped shape. Think of it, Simmons, towering in his demon persona, delivering proclamations about his dominance in rock history, while Sixx, raw and unapologetic, rolls his eyes at the arrogance. The clash between them wasn't just personal, it was philosophical. Sixx believed in the rebellious spirit of rock and roll, while Simmons seemed to exploit it, packaging rebellion into a product to be sold. Their feud intensified when Simmons made controversial remarks about addiction, dismissing the struggles of those who battled substance abuse. For Sixx, a recovering addict who had faced death and come back stronger, these were unforgivable. Simmons' comments felt like an attack not only on Sixx's journey, but on countless fans who found solace in music during their darkest hours. Of course, Simmons' conflict with Sixx was only one chapter in a long history of clashes. Simmons, never one to mince words, has built a reputation for his sharp tongue and polarizing opinions. Whether it was dismissing other bands, making inflammatory comments, or doubling down on his own perceived superiority, Simmons has ruffled more feathers than most rock stars could dream of. One of Simmons' most notorious feuds was with Paul Stanley, his bandmate and co-founder of Kiss. While the two shared a partnership that propelled the band to unimaginable heights, their relationship was marked by power struggles and creative differences. Stanley often criticized Simmons for focusing more on business ventures than on the music, accusing him of neglecting the band's artistic direction. Beyond Kiss, Simmons' rivalry with Eddie Van Halen was another point of contention. Simmons claimed credit for discovering Van Halen and alleged that Eddie Van Halen had once expressed interest in joining Kiss, a claim that sparked debates and denials. The back and forth only added fuel to the fire, painting Simmons as someone eager to take credit wherever he. Simmons has also faced criticism for his treatment of women, both in his personal life and within the music industry. Known for boasting about his exploits, Simmons' attitude toward women often came across as dismissive and objectifying. Female musicians and industry figures frequently criticized him for perpetuating outdated stereotypes, further tarnishing his reputation. His controversial remarks about women in rock bands sparked outrage, with many accusing him of gatekeeping and reinforcing the male-dominated status quo of the music industry. These comments created a divide between Simmons and the evolving rock scene, where inclusivity and respect were becoming increasingly important values. Gene Simmons, the self-proclaimed demon of Kiss, built his empire on the foundation of access, flashing wealth, larger-than-life performances, and an unapologetically egotistical persona. But behind the pyrotechnics and makeup lay a personal life rife with turmoil. While the world marveled at his success, Simmons' private life told a different story, one of tension, sacrifice, and the often painful intersection of fame and family. Picture this: Shannon Tweed, the stunning and fiercely independent Playboy model, standing by Simmons' side as he basked in the adoration of millions. On the surface, their relationship appeared to embody the rock and roll fantasy, yet, beneath the glamour, it was a battlefield. For years, Tweed endured Simmons' infidelity, a fact he neither denied nor sought to hide. His unabashed admission of sleeping with thousands of women wasn't just a point of contention, it was a public declaration that cut deeply into their relationship. Tweed, who was no stranger to the spotlight herself, struggled to reconcile her love for Simmons with his refusal to change. She often described the emotional toll of being with a man whose ego seemed to take up all the space in their relationship. While she remained loyal, it came at a price. The constant stream of rumors and tabloid stories created a strain that tested her resilience and forced Simmons to confront the consequences of his actions. The couple's turbulent dynamic took center stage in the reality show Gene Simmons' Family Jewels, a series that promised fans a behind-the-scenes look at the rock star's life. What began as a light-hearted exploration of Simmons' daily routine soon became a raw and revealing portrait of a family grappling with fame's heavy toll. On screen, Simmons' attempts to balance his career and personal life often appeared clumsy, if not outright dismissive. Tweed's frustration bubbled over in front of the cameras, showcasing the cracks in their relationship that even the most carefully crafted image couldn't conceal. One particularly dramatic moment came when Tweed confronted Simmons about his commitment or lack thereof. Her ultimatum, delivered with equal parts pain and strength, forced Simmons to reevaluate his priorities. For fans, the show was a revelation. Simmons, who had long been seen as an untouchable figure, was now exposed as a man who had to grapple with the same struggles as everyone else. But for Simmons and his family, the exposure was both cathartic and damaging, pulling back the curtain on a life that was anything but perfect. Simmons' role as a father added another layer of complexity to his personal life. His children, Nick and Sophie, grew up in the shadow of their father's fame, often feeling the pressure of living up to his expectations while forging their own identities. Simmons, who prided himself on being a provider, often found himself disconnected from the emotional side of parenting. Think of it, a man who conquered the world with his music, yet struggled to connect with his own children. While he doted on them materially, his relentless focus on his career often left little room for genuine moments of bonding. Sophie, in particular, voiced her frustrations about Simmons' inability to be present, challenging him to step up not as a rock star, but as a dad. The tension between Simmons' larger-than-life persona and his desire to be a good father created a push-and-pull dynamic that played out both on and off the screen. While his children respected his achievements, they also yearned for the moments of normalcy that fame seemed to strip away. Despite the conflicts, Simmons eventually made efforts to mend his personal life. His marriage to Tweed in 2011, after nearly 3 decades together, was a public acknowledgement of her patience and commitment. It was a moment of vulnerability for Simmons, a man who had spent most of his life shielding himself with bravado. But reconciliation was not a magic fix. Even after their wedding, the scars of the past lingered. Simmons' attempts to change were earnest, but imperfect, as he navigated the unfamiliar terrain of putting family above fame. For Tweed and their children, the journey was far from easy, but it was a step toward healing the fractures that had defined much of their lives. Gene Simmons' personal struggles were a stark contrast to his public persona. While he presented himself as an invincible force of nature, his private life revealed the vulnerabilities and challenges of a man who had built his world on excess. The tension between his roles as a rock god, a partner, and a father added a layer of depth to his legacy, one that was as flawed as it was fascinating. In the end, Simmons' family struggles were a reminder that even the most untouchable figures are human, grappling with the same challenges and emotions as the rest of us. His journey from infidelity and ego to reconciliation and growth serves as a powerful narrative of redemption, one that continues to resonate with fans and critics alike. For Nikki Sixx, Simmons' public and private behavior highlighted a disconnect between the man and the myth. Sixx, who had built his career on authenticity and raw emotion, found Simmons' approach to be calculated and insincere. Their conflict wasn't just a matter of clashing personalities, it was a battle of ideologies. While Simmons reveled in the commercialization of rock, Sixx saw it as a betrayal of the genre's roots. To Sixx, Simmons represented the corporate machine that stripped rock and roll of its rebellious edge, turning it into a product rather than an art form. This fundamental disagreement fueled their animosity, making their feud not just personal, but emblematic of the larger battle over the soul of rock music. Gene Simmons, for all his flaws and controversies, remains an undeniable force in rock history. His business acumen and ability to market himself elevated Kiss to legendary status, but it also created friction with peers like Nikki Sixx, who viewed him as a symbol of rock's commercialization. Sixx's candid revelations about Simmons add a new layer of drama to their long-standing feud, offering fans a glimpse into the complicated dynamics that define rock's greatest rivalries. In the end, both men's legacies are shaped not just by their achievements, but by the battles they fought along the way, leaving an indelible mark on the world of music.